Hey everybody, welcome back to a second chance. I know we've been taking a couple weeks off, but we are back. We are back. Uh, my name is Philip Jones. I am one half of your host.
And my name is Safaro Cook, two-time kidney transplant recipient and founder of Kidney Care Coaches, where we coach people with stage 3 to stage 5 kidney disease. If you or you know someone who has kidney disease challenges and needs to be coached, hit us up at kidneycarecoaches.com.
Awesome, awesome. Great to have you back, Mr. Cook. Today we have an awesome guest. I know a lot of people on LinkedIn know Tim, follow his show as well. Tim, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me, Philip and Tafaro. I really appreciate it.
We appreciate you joining us. Like I said, it was gonna be real quick. It's coming to you, so go ahead and you like I said, introduce yourself or tell your story, and we'll come back with the questions when you get done.
Yeah, sure. So, hey everybody, I'm back. I'm Tim Sohn. I live here in Pennsylvania. I'm a dad. I'm a husband. I'm also a 15-year cancer survivor. Uh, in 2008, I was 26 years old and I was diagnosed with chronic myeloid leukemia. And so what happened was I had found some purple blotches or bruises on my legs, and I went to my primary care physician. And what happened was they did some blood work, and so they took the blood work. They got the results. They called me up and they said, "You need to go to the hospital right now." So I went to the hospital 2 hours away and ended up staying in the hospital for, I think it was 4 days at Westchester Medical Center in Valhalla, New York. And I was diagnosed with chronic myeloid leukemia. I I had never myself had never had any major medical problems, but in my extended family, a lot of people have had cancer, have passed of cancer, are currently going through cancer. So there is in the extended family a lot of cancer for sure. Uh, so in December, just kind of fast forwarding until December, in December I found out that I'm cancer free. I have had chronic myeloid leukemia up until December, and December I found out I was cancer free, which was completely unexpected. I received I knew I was going to have a test. Every so often, they do this test called a genetic test. And thank you for everyone who's here in the comments. I see you, and I appreciate you all being here. Uh, and so then when I found out that I was cancer free, it was completely unexpected, and I'm so grateful for that. But uh, so one thing that I'm really have been really blessed with is what I needed to do in terms of treatment for my chronic myeloid leukemia is I take oral chemotherapy medication. And I've never really been extremely sick because of the leukemia or because of the medication that I've taken. Have had to switch my medication. I've only had to switch it once. Um, and so I have been very blessed that even though I had cancer for 15 years, I never was very sick from it or from the medication from it. Um, and so I've been very blessed during my journey to receive a lot of support from my family. My mom she was a public health nurse for her career, and she actually worked at the hospital that I ended up being diagnosed at. Um, and my dad is always very supportive. My sister, who was recently on the show that I created and that I originally created in 2021 called Showing Up Perspectives on Cancer, I recently had my sister on the show. And she's always been so supportive. And I remember back when I was diagnosed, I remember they wanted to put me on a clinical trial that they hadn't put anybody on yet. And Eileen she asked so many questions, and and we didn't end up doing that clinical trial. But I've just been so blessed in my journey, and then I started sharing my story in 2021, and since that, I've connected with so many cancer survivors and supporters. Ended up creating the Showing Up Perspectives on Cancer show, which is now on Tuesdays at 3 o'clock Eastern time. Uh, and got involved in the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society's Man and Woman of the Year philanthropic competition, which was March through May, and ended up winning the Mission Award for a 24-hour live stream fundraiser that myself and 14 other live streamers from around the world participated in. We raised thousands of dollars in 24 hours of live stream of awareness, cancer awareness during that. And then we did a 12-hour live stream fundraiser the month after that. And then coming up in September, we're going to do the first ever in-person Showing Up Perspectives on Cancer event, which is very much similar to the idea of the show, which is all people coming together to share their cancer stories and support each other. So that's kind of a glimpse of my story in a few minutes.
Yeah, yeah, that's an awesome story. Let me ask you one question though. What was your first thoughts and walk us through emotionally how you felt when you first was diagnosed.
When I first was diagnosed, I really was just, I really, I didn't know anything about leukemia. The only thing I knew about leukemia was when I was in elementary school, I knew one of my classmates had died from leukemia. Uh, that's really the only thing I knew about leukemia. So I just had so many questions. I didn't know how it would affect my life at all. It was just all unknown to me. So it was really just, it was just the unknown. I guess my initial reaction was, what now? Like, what are options? How's this going to affect my life? I had just started dating not that long ago before my now wife. And she actually found out that I had cancer because she found a appointment slip on the refrigerator that said oncologist on it. Yeah. So there's decisions like that when you're diagnosed with cancer. Like, when do you tell the person that you're dating that you have cancer? Like, do you tell them right? It hadn't been that long before that I was diagnosed. But in terms of your question, it was just kind of the unknown and what next, and finding out more information. It was definitely scary.
Right. One thing I could say, man, is you are definitely truly blessed to not have any pain going through this. Because usually when I hear about cancer and people, the treatment and everything, you shake your head because they tell me about the side effects and how painful things were and stuff like that. And that really, I'm not gonna lie, it shocked me when you said you had no pain whatsoever. You just went through the treatment smooth. No side effects of the chemo. You said you took a chemo medication, an oral medication, but you didn't do chemotherapy. How was that? Was that pretty normal?
Yeah, I haven't had any side effects to it. At one point, I did have to switch the medication because after so long, sometimes your body becomes immune to the one you're taking.
Okay.
But luckily, they have many different options now. Even since I was diagnosed more than 15 years ago now, and over that time period, they've come up with so many different oral chemotherapy medication options now. So even if I became immune to the one I take now is called Sprycel. The one I originally took is called Gleevec. There's even more. There's a number of additional options out there. Yeah,
Wow, man. And so, like, one thing is really, really important with people's, their recovery from things is their support system, and that's one thing you said. You said you had your mom who was a nurse there, your dad, and your soon-to-be bride. Everybody was supporting you, and Phil can contest to this that when we see people who have strong recovery, they always have a support team. Like me going through my transplants and things like that, I always had a great support team, and
that's
I
great.
think that goes a long way, when you can have those things.
Oh, definitely, definitely. Yeah, it's so important. And I mean, when I was first diagnosed, I don't even know what social media was around then. Uh, but now we are. I mean, here we are on a live stream show, right?
Right,
Uh, so it's a lot easier to connect with people, even globally. We have these shows, and I have the Showing Up Perspectives on Cancer show. So we have that community where we can come together, even globally.
right,
So it makes it a lot easier nowadays.
right. So let's talk about this fundraiser, man. You said out of 14 people you won. That's pretty amazing, right there. You must have a big following, and people really really supported you. How did you get started in the fundraising process with this?
So the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. This is actually I don't think I've really shared this part of the story before, but they have this competition called the Man and Woman of the Year philanthropic competition. And I don't know how many times I had to say those words philanthropic competition over 24 hours and then 12 hours. So it takes some work to get, used to saying those words. Um, but I think it was maybe 3 years ago I had first expressed interest in doing it, but then I had some health issues that came up. Uh, so I didn't end up doing it a few times. But then um, I did end up doing it this time, and I'm so blessed that it happened this time because I've connected with so many live streamers since the pandemic started. Because after the pandemic started, I created a live stream course on how to create your own live stream show.
Oh, nice.
And so when I expressed interest this time in being a candidate for Man and Woman of the Year, uh, we shout out to Dorothy Odell. Dorothy Odell, who is on my volunteer team for the Man and Woman of the Year. She, I, I said, let's do a virtual event, and she said, let's do a 24-hour virtual event. And I said, okay, I'm up for the challenge. Now, I will say one thing is I'm someone who's not very good at asking for anything, like asking for help, let alone asking for money. So fundraising, hugely intimidating to me. Okay.
Right, right,
Definitely. Just the word fundraising. Yeah. But the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society provided so many resources for me and my family, especially when I was diagnosed. I didn't have insurance. Uh, I think I was in between jobs. I was living in New Jersey at the time. And so they were helpful then. They also provide educational resources. They have in person events, they have webinars, they have so many different resources that have just helped. My mom still goes to an in person support group that they have for families,
nice.
which is, we were just talking about support, right? That's so
Right,
important,
right,
even for families.
right, right.
Um, so yeah, so then we ended up doing this 24-hour live stream fundraiser uh, with 14 live streamers. They all live streamed on their own social media platforms. Uh, we ended up raising, I think, in the 24-hour live stream, we raised $6,000 over the 24 hours.
Nice.
Uh, and then we did the 12-hour live stream fundraiser the following month and raised several more $1,000. Um, and it's just, it's even if we didn't raise the dollars, right? we shared cancer stories. We had cancer survivors come on and cancer supporters come on and share their stories.
Hmm.
Um, but those dollars do obviously, like, they do make an impact,
Yes, they
right?
do.
Because cancer is so expensive,
Right.
you know.
Right.
And shout out to all of you who are here. I see Jen Russman just popped in. Hey Jen, it's great to see you. I just saw her a few weeks ago at a LinkedIn local event in Connecticut for the first time.
Okay.
So welcome, Jen.
Hey, Tim, we have a question for you, and I want to read the question, and I think it's a question. The question is from I think it's Marcel. I really can't see it too well, but she says,
There we
Tim.
go.
Oh, okay, that's what it is. Tim, what are you, your fiance now wife said when you read when she messaged on the refrigerator about your cancer?
Oh, what did she say?
Yeah.
If I recall correctly, she brought it up to me on a phone call at 1 o'clock in the morning. I used to work at night, and she used to work during the day. She works as a teacher during the day, and I used to work at night at a newspaper. And I believe she brought it up on a phone call at 1 o'clock in the morning. She just kind of casually brought it up. So I saw this appointment slip on the refrigerator and said something about an oncologist on it. I was like, oh, yeah.
One
Wow.
of those oh by the way moments.
Right.
By the
Right.
way.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. She's very supportive. Very supportive.
That's awesome. So let's talk about this though. Let's talk about with the surprise in December becoming cancer free. Like, was that a shock? Or let's talk about that.
Yeah. It really was a shock. And I don't know why, but for some reason I had this feeling when I was going to have this test that my numbers were going to be up again. They had said to me the previous time that my numbers had been going up like the last 4 tests in a row, and I didn't know that. Like, they
Mm.
hadn't mentioned that before. So when I went for the next test, I was really stressed out, and I just had a bad feeling. And then he called me up and he said, You don't have any more leukemia cells. And I was like, what? Like, in a good
Wow.
way, right? But
Right.
in
Right.
shock, like, because that has never happened over the 15 years, ever. So it's been an interesting experience for me. Yeah. Um, because because I find like it's almost been kind of like a reevaluation of my life.
Mm. Okay.
And I kind of have thought I would think about a lot of things while I was in the cancer, but I find like I'm thinking a lot of things while I'm not, if that makes any
Right.
sense at all.
Yeah, it does make sense. I clearly understand where you're coming from.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have a quick question for you, like to go back to the beginning of everything. So what was your thought when you originally saw the purple bruising? Like, what did you think? Because I know you see purple bruising, you're not thinking, oh, it's cancer. So what was your thoughts about it? Because it had to start you because it brought you to go to the hospital. So what went through your mind when you saw that?
When I saw the purple bruises,
Yeah.
I really had no idea what it was. Cancer did not come into my mind at all. I really had no idea what it could be. But cancer was I didn't even think of that at all.
Hmm.
I was in total shock that it was cancer, which I really shouldn't have been because cancer is so prevalent in my family. Um, But
That's what I was going to ask you about. You know, if you had this already, but
yeah,
it just sometimes you can have these things in your family, but it just never, you know, you never think about it with you until it happens. So
yeah,
that's probably what was going on with you. Did your family members
yeah.
have the same kind of cancers you had?
What's that?
I said, did your family members have the same type of cancer that you had?
The closest that anyone in my family has had is my mom's brother, my uncle, passed of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is another
Oh,
blood
okay.
cancer.
Mhm.
But that's the only other person in my family that's had a blood cancer. So it's kind of related. Yeah. And I do want to shout out Jenny Gold. Jenny Gold is
Yeah.
her show is the first place where I shared my cancer story. So thanks for being here, Jenny.
Yeah. Hi,
And
Jenny.
all of
We
you.
like her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Jenny's cool. Yeah, she's been on our show before as well.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
Hi,
Jenny.
Jenny. Yeah.
Yeah,
You know, it's pretty remarkable when we talk about cancer because you know Phil and I we're really familiar with transplants. You know, heart, lung, kidneys, all those things. You know, solid organ and stem cell. But when it comes to cancer, there's so many variations of it, and
yeah,
it's really diverse, and there's so many different ways of treating it. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
do you know like when people come to you, do you know the different types and how to work with people like that, or do you just are you just familiar with your type, or what is it?
Yeah, I'm not really an expert when it comes to the different type yet. Although I'm learning as I hear everybody's
Right,
different stories, but
right.
I'm far from a medical expert.
But the
Yeah,
awareness is so good because when you hear something new, you even research it a little bit and you go, oh,
yeah,
okay, now I know about that. You know, so it just opens you up. It
for
expands
sure.
you more when you hear about other people's stories and stuff. And I know it feels good when you tell your story and people can resonate with it, man. There's nothing like that. You know, I think personally, there's not a dollar in the world that can bring the euphoria you feel when you help others. It's not about, a financial gain. It's about just more of a holistic spiritual gain that you feel so strong when you can help people. This, with the fundraiser, with you when you're helping when we're helping kids and doing all types of things. I think there's no other better feeling than that. That's just me.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I definitely agree with that. And bringing people together,
Right.
to connect them, and so many people that come together on the show, they connect in the comments, they get to know each other, they share their stories in the comments, um,
Hmm.
which is which is great. Um,
Right.
I'm just honored that they trust the space to show up and share, you know, just like you guys right here.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're gonna take a quick break and go to a commercial, and we'll come back with more questions for Tim. Hey, welcome back to a second chance. My question for you, Tim, is what made you decide to start your show to be able to share a story of cancer survivors and supporters?
That's a great question. Um, so it started when I started sharing my story on Jenny Gold's show in June of 2021. I started sharing my story. Um, and after I did that, I ended up sharing my story on other shows like Nancy Barrow's Connected Human Conversations show and lots of other shows and virtual events since then. And I had been wanted to create a show around cancer. I didn't know what it was going to look like. Uh, and I was talking to a friend of mine. Her name's Carol Ulker, and so in only about 3 weeks, we had created this show together, showing up perspectives on cancer. And Kara's perspective was that her mom had passed of cancer. Um, and she's left the show a while ago now, but we had created the show together. And I have a new co-host who just started recently. Her name's Erica Campbell. Um, and so it's just kind of been an evolution of from me sharing my story back in June of 2021 to uh, continuing to share it and connect with more survivors and supporters, um, and then it's something I wanted to do, uh, and just kind of the opportunity presented itself, and I didn't know how it was going to go. I didn't know if it would still be going on today, but yeah. So that's kind of how it happened.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Tim, let me ask you a question. What does cancer free mean? I mean, do you still have a regiment or anything like that? Or so can you explain to us, people who don't know too much about cancer, what that means to be cancer free?
Yeah. So cancer free. I'm not really sure if I'm using the right word. Uh, I have no leukemia cells in my body anymore. So
Okay.
that's technically what it means. I am still taking oral chemotherapy medication though, the Sprycel, because I have had chronic myeloid leukemia. They recommend that you take it for the rest of your life
Okay.
to prevent it from coming back. Uh, I recently went to my oncologist and he told me that he does have one patient who has stopped taking the oral chemo medication completely. I'm not sure how long they've been off of it, but it hasn't come back at all.
Wow.
Uh, I'm not going there, at least not now. I don't know if it will ever be a possibility in the future, but as of right now, for the rest of my life, I'll be on oral chemo medication, which, by the way, is extremely expensive if you don't have good health insurance.
Right.
I believe my medication without health insurance is somewhere around $10,000 a month.
Wow,
Wow.
wow,
Yeah, yeah.
That's more than any anti-rejection medication. I
right.
thought those were high.
Is
Ten
it?
I
thousand.
thought those were through the roof.
I thought those were high. Yeah, really. Gosh, that's like
Yeah.
that's 10 times higher than what the medications we have to spend. Let me ask you this though, like, are you on a lower dosage, or just like just at a like, are you on a low dose? Let me just ask that.
It's 100 milligrams a day.
Okay.
So I take one dose of 100 milligrams a day.
I mean, and if you don't have any side effects or nothing like that, I would just keep, yeah, like you said, just keep going with that. Leave well enough alone. I agree with you.
That's yeah, that's the plan.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Has this allowed you? Has like cancer like prevented you to do anything as far as like exercise, anything like that? You pretty much can do what you want.
Yeah, it hasn't prevented me from anything. Really,
That's nice. That's
which
awesome.
is
So
kind of it's, it's a weird. It's been a surreal experience for me having cancer, even over the 15 years, because like I was saying, it really hasn't affected me in any ways. Like I've lived a very normal life over 15 years, and I don't I don't know if I've heard of any other people that have gone through it like this, you
that's what
know?
I'm talking about right there.
Yeah.
That's where I'm literally shocked because of that.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there like blown away because usually, Phil and I again, we've interviewed people with cancer, and some of the stuff we'd be like, wow, we thought we went through some stuff, and it's like mind blowing from some of the side effects of chemo and the list
Yeah.
goes on. So you are what we call a rare bird. Let me just say that.
Yeah, for sure. And also I would just say part of the reason that I never planned on sharing my cancer story, and part of the reason is because of that I for the most part have felt fine over the duration of my cancer, and I know so many people do not feel fine over the duration of their cancer. So who am I to show up and share my story of feeling fine with cancer? Like it's almost like a sense of uh I guess you could say like guilt, right?
I I think it's good though. I think it's good that you can show another side of cancer because we all see the loom and gloom side of cancer, and
Yeah,
then there's other people, and I'm pretty sure you are the first we've heard, but I'm pretty sure there's others who had a cancer story just like yours, and you sharing your story like that gives people a lot of hope that you don't have
right.
to go through all this mayhem. Sometimes it could be just like yours, which is great. I think that story needs to be shared. That's where I'm at with it. So
Yeah. I appreciate you saying that because that perspective is one that I've never really thought of before, and people have told me that before since sharing my story, um which, like, now that after thinking about it, and you saying it and other people saying it, it makes sense to me after hearing it. But initially, I just like that never came into my mind, that perspective. So
yeah,
I
but
do appreciate you sharing that. Yeah.
I just think that's wonderful because, like, somebody might get cancer and they might think about your story like, okay, it doesn't have to be, going through all the trials and tribulations. It could be, take the medication and I'm fine. So I think that story needs to be shared, and I think that story holds just as much as weight as any other story because people need to hear all types of stories.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And shout out to Mark Engstar's comment, who was just on the screen. He's in New Zealand. He shows up for the Showing Up show pretty much every week.
Yeah, he says, "Love how you're helping many people worldwide." So that goes to show right there that your story is pretty powerful.
Right.
Yeah.
These people wouldn't show up and give you so much love if the story wasn't powerful. So I'm thinking it's powerful. So I'm happy with it. That's for sure.
Definitely, definitely. So Tim, where do you see your show going from here? I know you said you have the in-person event coming up next month. Where are you trying to take your show? And are you trying to hit certain things, or are do you have a goal line for the show?
So, but the show really right now is focused around cancer survivors and cancer patients and cancer supporters sharing their personal journeys. And I really foresee that continuing on the show. I've really been exploring, I really consider the show to be part of a movement. Um, so there's the show, there's the in-person event, and then there's other things that I'll be announcing down the line. Um, but I really consider the show to be just part of a platform, I guess. You know, I'm really passionate about encouraging cancer patients, survivors, supporters to use their voice and share their story. Um, and yeah, so with the show very much continuing what we've been doing, uh, and stay tuned for future things coming down the road.
Awesome, awesome. Well, Tim, thank you for coming on our show. I don't have any more questions. Phil might have some questions. It was really nice meeting you, and it was great hearing your show, hearing your story, man. It's pretty powerful, and thanks. And we continue. I'll just continue to give you all the blessings in the world, man, for sure.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. I really
Oh, it
appreciate
was
it.
our pleasure. So there you got the story from Tim himself. Awesome 15-year cancer survivor. Um, we a second chance announcement on motivational Mondays, but a second chance will be coming out with a magazine at the end of this month. That will also be called a second chance. And so we're just looking for more support. Trying to have more followers and things of that nature. So the people who are already supporting us, we appreciate you. We love you. And we'll definitely be back next week. Next Sunday, we have our donors panel, our living donors panel. So I'm looking forward to that. The 21st, we have a collaboration with Trish Phillips and the Multicultural Miracle Donors Foundation, with our guest Tanisha McCall, who's their at large board member. August 28th, we will have our panel. That I'm really looking forward to, because we definitely need, just like we need to show the love to the donors, we definitely need to show the love to the kids as well, because they're just
Yes,
as important as the donors, because without their help, we don't get through what we had to go through. So
I
definitely
agree.
got to show love to the caregivers. So Tim, we appreciate you coming on our show. Definitely looking forward to your show tomorrow at 12 noon Pacific time, 3 o'clock Eastern. So I'll definitely will see you tomorrow. So again, Mr. Cook, great to have you back, and we'll
Thank
see
you.
you all next Sunday.
All right.